Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is part 3 of Sunshower. Aizawa, ex-female listener, ex-present mic. Enjoy! Hizashi got to the bar a little earlier than you and Aizawa. He wanted to settle himself in and make sure the place had all the food and drinks ready that you might possibly want to order. Hey, excuse me there, he said to a passing waitress as he sat down at the bar. Do you have eggnog today? Of course, she replied with a polite smile. It's Christmas. We have enough eggnog here to serve 10,000 people. Okay, good. I've got a special guest with me tonight. She loves eggnog. I want to make her Christmas special, you see, he said with a grin, pulling his glasses down onto his nose a little. Don't worry, we have you covered, the waitress said with another smile before heading off. Perfect, Hizashi thought as he settled in at the bar and then raised his hand to place an order. His nerves could do with a little numbing. After ordering, he sat there waiting for his drink to be made, his mind replaying a few of his favourite memories with you. One standout night was that time that he had been asked to DJ at a well-known club in town, and he had been told that he could bring one extra. Excitedly, he had rung you to tell you about it. Oh my god, you squealed down the line. No way, that's so cool, Hizashi. And I get to bring a +1, he said with enthusiasm. Can it be me? Please, that'd be so cool to be up there with you in the VIP, you screeched down the line. Oh my god, I need to calm down, it's so hot in my room right now, you laughed. Of course, you're my co-host, come with me, he had said joyously, ecstatic that he was going to spend some one-on-one time with you. You were hyped, and before you knew it, the night had come. Wanting to fit the vibe, you grunted it up a bit, and dressed up in as much leather as you could find, including leather chokers and bracelets. And when Hizashi spotted you walking through the crowds towards him that night outside the club, he barely recognised you, but he thought you were hot even before he realised it was you. Damn, he thought internally when he had seen you, his cheeks turning pink as he watched you walk towards him, his eyes bulging out over the top of his glasses. Hizashi! You called when you saw him, grinning from ear to ear before pushing your last way through the crowds and jumping up to wrap your arms around his neck. I never thought I'd be able to find you with all these people around, you called over the din of the voices surrounding you. You look amazing, he called back to you, and you grinned at him, the room filling with the most exquisite perfume. Come on, he then added. And with that, you let go of your hold on him, and he took your hand and took you with him over through the crowds up to the VIP section. There was no issue getting through as the guards recognised Hizashi immediately and unhooked the ropes for you both to go through. And then Hizashi led you up the stairs and into the DJ booth that was right up overhanging the club dance floor and closed the door behind you both. They've been playing generic songs through the speakers, he said as he walked over to the turntable and made sure it was plugged in. But I'm about to bring the heat, yeah? He grabbed for the earphones beside the DJ set and sat them on his head. One earphone pushed back so he had one ear on the crowd, and then he reached a fist out to you for you to bump it. Bump me for good luck, he called. With a grin, you bumped him back and stood there grinning and watching to see him get into DJ mode. Once he was ready, he raised his right hand and a voice suddenly came over the speakers down below. Ladies and gentlemen, genders of all types and people from all across the globe, you're in for a real treat tonight. In our home booth, right now, right this very second, we have one of this country's finest hero and DJ, present Mike, host of Put Your Hands Up Radio, Hizashi Yamada! The person called enthusiastically. The crowd went wild as a spotlight suddenly swung around the floor and flicked up to land on Hizashi as he stood there with his one hand still up. The feral screeching turned up a notch and you nearly had to cover your ears, it was so loud. Give it up for DJ Yamada! The person yelled, and that was Hizashi's cue to start. The speakers cut the generic songs, and his turntable jumped to life as he pushed a few levers and pressed a few buttons and then started to spin the track. It was an old school banger, and the crowds jumped on board immediately, singing and jumping with the beat of the song. You watched in awe as Hizashi got into the groove, bopping his head with the beat of the song and letting his body ride with it, looking effortlessly cool in his leather jacket as he brought the dance floor below him to life. You were standing back and to the side of the booth, far enough to be away out of sight, but you could still see everything that was going on, and the atmosphere in there was crazy. You couldn't help but get pumped as well. Yin, come here! Hizashi called, looking over to you and beckoning you to come to his side. Hesitantly you did so, and he took your hand and pulled you in front of him so that you were at the station and he was behind you. Hands like this, he said in your ear, although he had to yell a little over the sound of the music. He took your hands and guided them over the dials and panels and used your fingers to set something up. When you want that beat to drop, Press here, he instructed, pointing to a button. It's all on you, baby, he called, your body starting to bounce in time with the music as he matched your vibe and danced in time behind you. You could feel the music building and tension rising, and waited until you thought it was the right time. Then, with a quick look over your shoulder at him, you pressed the button, the track dropping to a mix of the next song, and a burst of excited screaming rippled out from the dancers below. Being super excited that you had dropped the beat at the right time, you spun around and Hizashi congratulated you with high fives and a hug, the two of you on a high in that moment. After you had switched back with him, he had leaned across and grabbed a microphone and handed it to you. You know this song, right? I'm going to cut the vocals so you can do a live cover, he called. What? You shouted with shock, sudden wind whipping in and swirling around some of the confused dancers below. You're a star, Yin, you can do it. Your voice is made for this, he had encouraged you, excitedly setting the song up for you. Nervously, you took the microphone from him and waited while he pushed some buttons and set the song up for you. It comes in at the chorus, he called. You ready? I guess, you said nervously, more wind whipping around. You're live in 3, 2, 1, he shouted, pointing at you. You opened your mouth and belted the chorus of the song, your vocal talent shining through, so much so that some of the dancing crowd stopped and looked up to see who was singing. Yin Lin, everyone! President Mike shouted into a second mic that he had on himself. Give it up for the best vocalist in Japan! The crowd went wild again, and the rest of the night was basically you and President Mike dancing, singing, hugging, and just cutting loose in the DJ booth until the early hours of the morning. The club had never been so warm, nor smelled so sweet as what it had done that night. By the time you and he left the club, it was after 5 a.m, and you were exhausted, so you just crashed at his place, in his bed, with him. Although nothing happened in that regard, you'd woken up still in your clothes from yesterday and laying with your head on Hizashi's chest, and he had his arm wrapped around your back to keep you close. It was quite an intimate position. Hizashi smiled into his drink as he recalled the memory. I'd love to have her in my bed with me every night, he thought as he took another sip. Hizashi! He heard you call, and he whipped his head over his shoulder so fast he nearly whipped himself off the chair. Hey there, he said brightly, excited to see you, but feeling a sting of jealousy that you had walked in with Aizawa. To him it looked like you two were a couple. He didn't like the feeling that he got when he thought of that. I do believe spaghetti-o is the correct phrase to be used in this situation. Poor Hizashi. We'll see what happens in the next chapter. I'll see you next week for chapter 4.